welcome to my reaction video of Stranger Things Season 4, Part 2, Episode 8. I am ready for this next episode. I am looking forward to what comes next and making some more discoveries.
Have you done?
Nothing! Oh, convenient amnesia. This episode is technically Part 2's first episode. Only 2 episodes for Part 2, while the first part had 7 episodes. But if you've been watching my other videos, you know that I view the entire season as just 9 episodes and there's no 2 parts. That's doesn't really make any sense for there to be 2 parts because it's clearly not. Therefore, looking at the title for this episode, Papa. Okay. I promised if you've been watching my previous videos, you know that I have this hang up on the retconning. I am not okay with retconning. It's a lazy way to make up new stuff. Let me be clear. In case you're not sure, retconning means to change something in the future. Well, the future changes because something in the past is changed so that you can make that thing in the future happen. The difference between a retcon and just being something you didn't know is that a retcon tends to mean something doesn't add up. The things that you saw before, the things that came before, do not match with the new things that you're being told supposedly existed all along or supposedly happened all along. In the case of Stranger Things, we get Eleven and her completely altered past. In Stranger Things seasons 1 through 3, Eleven is presented to us in a certain way. This season, they have been trying to claim several things that definitely weren't the case. For instance, the 11 this season, they've been trying to use the excuse of amnesia, hence my comment, where, oh, she just doesn't remember all the things that are... It's tantamount to completely overhauling a main character into a completely different person. Now, granted, the actress is still playing it the same way, and she's still written the same way, so I'm happy about that. Almost makes it stranger, because she wouldn't be the same person if she had gone through all these things. Like, if she knew she was mega powerful, and that there was the upside down, and that all these people that she knew got slaughtered, and that she almost died, and that it goes on and on. This episode's title is Papa. And begin. I still don't understand why he showed her any of this. This is basically akin to the whole villain monologue. I have to admit, I was surprised in the last episode when Nancy became in danger. If it would have been Vecna, as they call him, sensed their presence, and he attacked to try to kill them, stop them, whatever, makes sense. Well, it makes sense to me. Obviously, what I think makes sense doesn't always match up with what general audiences or general people who make things think makes sense, I suppose. He's now villain monologuing, telling her everything, showing her everything about him. Last episode it was, here's my past and my story. And then this episode it's, now look what I did at the lab and what happened to me as a boy, even though I was a crazy murderer anyway, so nobody feels bad for him in the chair getting tattooed. And now tell Eleven this. What is his deal? Okay. Ignoring any ideas of retcons here, I am just strictly going off of trying to understand his plan and the plot. Alright, he reveals his plan is to somehow open a permanent rift between worlds. This guy somehow has the power to open gates with his mind by killing a random teen, because he has opened 3 gates so far, right? He's opened the one in the lake, he's opened the one at the trailer, and he opened the one on the road, supposedly. Even though I don't think we ever saw that one, but it's got to be there somewhere, right? Because there's a crack everywhere. And it's a gate, basically. It's a very thin layer between dimensions, and you can get through. If you can open a gate, you can cross between worlds. Why would he choose? I suppose I could see somewhere in his demented mind, he might stay in the Upside Down because he's like, I will be God over it because I'm a totally crazy weirdo. Okay, I guess I answered my own question. I was going to ask, why wouldn't he just come through? Why is he not human anymore, apparently? What, you can just go into the Upside Down, and instead of dying like a normal friggin' person, you somehow mutate into this ugly but stronger than ever creature that barely resembles a real human? How does that work? Show me how that makes sense. Because I don't get it. No. The Upside Down already in this season was not matching with previous seasons. Oh, bring the Upside Down to Hawkins or something, I think is his plan. Cool threat, but it's also undermined by the fact that he could just kill random teenagers and it will work. And then you have to ask, why is he targeting teenagers? I'm trying to understand. I used to think the Upside Down creature was pretty interesting. I liked the different way of attacking. I didn't actually mind if it would have ended up somehow being... Okay, well, it doesn't really make sense that a human could somehow go to the Upside Down and turn into this thing. Okay, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. It's driving me nuts. But if I just pretend it makes sense, I can go with it. Basically, I can go with it if I pretend it makes sense. They didn't make it make sense, but I did like, because I had the thought in the past that it could be a psychic kid, since we knew that, I can never remember her number, but 8 or 9. Somebody tell me, is it 8? That number, she was out there. So there could easily be other kids. I guess one of them ended up in the Upside Down and turned into a monster. Again, it does not make sense. Apparently, the atmosphere isn't toxic anymore. Apparently, electricity will flay all your skin, take away your nose. You possibly have gotten taller. I'd have to compare the actors, but because I'm pretty sure it's the dude in the costume, right? I'm doing the weird Freddy Krueger voice. The point is, I thought the creature was a cool addition. I liked how the show was being presented. Then they started the retconning, and that's when it started losing me there. Because I cannot abide poor writing. Just can't. It's really not that hard to make things make sense or work within your own universe. It's not. It's not hard. It just takes a little effort and time. I am merely stating the fact that this show could be better.
She's good.
She's good. More like I know nothing about what's going on in the lives of my children. WTF did they trap in there? Consistency. They are lacking consistency all over the place. Go back to any of the previous seasons with the Demogorgons. You cannot tell me you can spray them with bullets and they're just going to shrug it off and not even be hurt at all. You cannot tell me that. I haven't seen the seasons in a while, but I guarantee you go back and look. I recall even these people, our characters, having like baseball bats and it would harm them. How are you telling me that these guys are point blank shooting 4 or 5 guns and it's just mad? You can't tell me they missed the mouth either with all those shots. Consistency. It is important. We are back in Russia. This is where the Demogorgon fight was. Sorry, I'm going into what I just saw, realizing you might not know what I'm talking about. The Demogorgon is still out there. Hopper and them are looking for a way out, find a laboratory. The Russians have obviously been taking creatures from the Upside Down and experimenting on them, because that's what scientists do, right? Find weird alien crap, that's what you do. Containment area, where there's this black or gray stuff just floating around. Kind of looks like it's flying around, like little pieces, little particles, which I recall Max mentioned gray or black particles to Eddie, asking if he'd seen them, which he hadn't, when Chrissy died and he was hiding by the boathouse. I remember then too being like, what is a black particle? What are you talking about? Season 2, they have them briefly. The government has that lab yet in Hawkins. When the gate is open, particle stuff will start moving. And so I'm thinking the stuff's moving around since this creature, Vecna, has been opening gates when he kills teenagers. And apparently it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Does that make sense? Not really. This is the inherent problem with moving to a foreign country for part of your episode. The fact that they're keeping Hopper and all these characters here this entire season is a huge disappointment to me. I'm not going to rate it against the show because that's just my personal problem that they've been stuck in Russia this entire time. What a waste of characters. I have enjoyed some of the shenanigans that Joyce and Murray have gotten up to. Yuri was also an entertaining dude, even if he's a total a-hole. And the guard seems cool, I guess. But just sticking Hopper there, what a waste. I don't know why they wanted to go into Russia so bad. Just, that's all I can say. What a waste of a character and storylines. Hey, that is expensive equipment. Do not break that. Hey, if you need to prove how strong you are, please don't break the equipment doing it. Alright, so forgot to mention, but back in Russia, they did find a underground passage, some kind of a grate in the floor, which will lead them out. Then we move to the lab, which you saw 11, obviously. She has her powers back because magic! Not only can she have convenient amnesia that then gives her powers, more powerful than she was possibly, but also the nosebleeds continue to apparently not mean brain damage, even though that's what those nosebleeds are when you get them the way she does, where she's obviously straining her brain. The show clearly just uses it as like a shorthand of wipe the nose, I'm using my power, or I've used it. Coming into this, I'm only 15 minutes in, and I'm being really negative. So let's try to find some positives. I still like Brenner and Owen's working together. And now we're back with the crew. Mike, Jonathan, Will, guy I can't remember the name of. I've predicted they would eventually find 11, and I'm thinking that they're going to find her this episode now. It took longer than I thought, but I mentioned tire tracks way back when this supposed secret base was first shown. I guarantee that's what they're going to use to find it, right? So let's see. Yeah, it's that art you never bothered to ask about, a-hole. Is Will dying? What is happening? He has been very emotional this season, looking really sad or lonely, close to tears or actual tears. And even his brother will give him looks every now and then, obviously noticing something's wrong with his brother. We got the gang in the van, they're driving, looking. Will and Mike have been having some nice moments, although it's one of those awkward, uncomfortable type of friendships I've noticed, where sometimes they're totally who they used to be as kids, where they were actual best friends and really cared about each other. But I've definitely noticed often. Now it happens, so this isn't like a penalty against the show or the characters or anything, but it's just a sad thing, is that Mike clearly doesn't seem to care that much about Will compared to how much Will cares for him. It feels like a almost one-sided friendship a lot of the time, where if Mike had the choice, he would not choose to be with Will. And I can't tell if it's just the actors kind of lacking at being able to express emotions a little deeper than... Now, I don't know how he's being directed, and I don't know what is the writing, so this could all be how he's supposed to act. This is just his character. I'm just trying to figure out what's happening here, because Will is trying so hard. He shows the art he finally did and wanted to show him at the airport way back when, that apparently 11 asked him to do. And it's a really nice drawing with a dragon and them fighting. I'm assuming it's meant to be a D&D thing. And it's very cool. And there's a moment in the van where Will is just trying to be a buddy, lighten the mood. Mike's worried about 11. They don't know how she is. He's talking about, oh, we're out here in Nevada, I think. And Will is all, we can go gambling with 11 and make tons of money, and then we can just not have to work or go to school and just play video games and play D&D, blah, blah, blah. You know, child fantasy, fun stuff. Mike is barely listening, just like mumbles something in reply, and it's just so hurtful. Poor Will. I really sympathize. Will is always put through the ringer. Seasons he's not, he still is, because his friends, or his so-called friends, have a tendency to ignore him 90% of the time. Will has a rough time. Let's continue.
It always chimes 4 times.
I like how this chick is always counting this crap. She had a timeline for her
He's been telling us
demise
his plan
earlier.
this whole time.
He's not
How
scared
about
of
a
us.
bunch of
For good
kids don't
reason.
do this? We check back in with the characters of Nancy, who's come back with the warning of what this creature plans to do. Open up that rift or break in dimensions. I don't really get why he wants to do this, except for the evils. And I don't understand why he's telling. I suppose there's always the cheesy villain wants you to know what he's gonna do, because he's so tough, no one can stop him. If a villain actually wanted to succeed at his plan, or her plan, in this case his, you wouldn't tell everyone. Or at least you wouldn't tell everyone the specifics. You might tell them, like, I'm going to destroy the world, no one will stop me. Fine, if you want to be that kind of annoying villain, sure. Even though the best villains say nothing while they screw you over. But he's giving them, I need 4 sacrifices, 4 knocks of the bell. The clock tolls 4 for 4 random teens, and this will somehow open a rift. One of the characters said world, like world danger. Kids tend to exaggerate, so hopefully that's what's happening here, because I don't feel like the world's in danger. Hawkins is probably screwed if it opens. I feel like this would be a local issue, right? 4 areas in Hawkins, it would all connect and open into a big rift. That would be bad, but it's not world ending except for Hawkins. So for now, I'm going with the theory that they just mean world as in their world, where they live, not the entire Earth, because I don't see how that would happen. And these kids are planning to go and risk Max's life to try to stop him themselves. A bunch of kids. And yes, the 18, 19-year-olds, they're kids, okay? It's so stupid. Why? They have evidence. They have everything they need. Tell the government, guys. Tell the cops. There's no reason to go it alone. I am getting angry because if people end up dead, these are children. They shouldn't die. I know it's a fictional show, but the point of fictional shows are still to get you to care about people in most cases. So I am getting frustrated right now because these people are being stupid and they're planning to go it alone to try to stop this extremely dangerous psychic. Not to mention this is in the Upside Down as well. So there's tons of, well, I don't know where all the Demogorgons went, but there used to be Demogorgons and they were a huge threat. Do you remember when the Upside Down used to be actually scary? Because I do. Season 1. Oh, really terrifying when suddenly the regular world would just be the Upside Down. You're just in it. Now I just don't recognize it. Apparently the atmosphere is not toxic because all these people seem fine. Okay, maybe everyone won't die horribly. I'm being positive.
When one kills, he doesn't simply kill. He consumes. It's everything they are and everything they ever will be. Their memories, their abilities. We do not
Why?
know where he's been.
Alright, so I know that episode's titled Papa. Correctly so, because there is nothing going on here. So the focus for me seems to keep shifting back to the lab. The Russia stuff is barely worth mentioning. The gang gets out through a hole. They're outside the walls. They take the van. They get out. Then we got the gang. Again, nothing really going on. Oh, I didn't say which gang. There's a couple roving gangs of kids in this season. The gang of Nancy and them. There's nothing going on. They steal someone's home, an RV, to get around faster. So then we're back at the lab. Feel like it's unintentional, but the actor playing Owen sounds really patronizing when he's reassuring Eleven. When she eavesdropped, I forgot to mention earlier, she eavesdropped using her running water and then the mind to listen in on the gang planning to take down Vecna alone. So she's obviously worried because they're idiots and they're gonna get killed, and she knows it because she actually has a brain. But it feels patronizing when Owens is like, calm down. I've got people in Hawkins. They'll go check on your friend Max and them. I'm pretty sure it's unintentional, but that's how it's coming off. So anyway, he's playing the good guy, so of course Brenner has to come in and be the bad guy. You can't go, we need you to be stronger. You're not strong enough yet. And then he says that how he doesn't just kill people, he consumes them, which makes 0 sense whatsoever. Even in its own universe. I guess it's a new psychic power they're telling us about. Where I have the problem is why? If he hates humans so much, why would he want to? Why would he want anything that they are? What abilities would be useful to him that are from the puny, pathetic humans who enjoy schedules and time? How dare we like society? Eleven's like, I'm leaving. I'm gonna go make sure they're okay. There's no way he's just gonna let Eleven walk out. The first time she tried to walk out, he drugged her. It's not gonna happen. Well, I'm sure she'll be able to get away because we know that Mike and the others are coming, so she'll get out somehow, or they'll get there. Yeah.
I mean, they got power, sure, but not much range.
Yeah.
Close range combat.
So you
someone
get
can
up
just grab
close
that barrel
and blast the shit out of them.
and
They're
redirect it.
excellent at that. This episode is a whole lot of nothing. Alright, nothing really going on in Russia. Still trying to figure out a way to get out. possible aircraft, possible not. Trying to phone in to Owens back in America for help. Obviously, not gonna work. I don't really get how they would be able to help all the way in Russia. Nothing going on with Nancy and Steve and all of them. They're still traveling by RV. And then they reach the store. And then finally we have a little bit of something going on. It's of course your typical America. Tons of guns and weapons and things. We have our main jock show up again, Jason. And he's not looking well. He's there for weapons too. Still trying to find Eddie, I guess, and the others. Asks about Mike, who's not in town though, so she can just genuinely be like, nope, not here. But he's acting extra creepy. He was always a confrontational, possibly dangerous in that he would fight you. Really weird, like crazy weird, getting in her face like that. Maybe he's sleep deprived, and that's why he's acting so weird. It's just a strange turn.
If that small woman is small enough, she could fit behind a small tree.
Finally figured out that guy's name. His name is Argyle, and he is awesome. I don't agree with him that pineapple goes on pizza. However, I like him, and he's hilarious in the van. I enjoy his presence, and sure enough, they see the tracks. They're going to be able to find the lab. Not a lot going on in this entire episode. That hasn't really changed. The other guys, Max, Nancy, and all them, they're preparing the weapons and things. At the lab, we have Owens get taken in because apparently you can have each other get arrested or imprisoned or whatever they're going to do to him. And also the military can do things to them. I don't understand how anything works in relation to each other. I don't get why the military guys are coming after them when they work for the same country and the same government. I'm not surprised Brenner is putting his foot down and being like, she's not going anywhere. But to actually have your guys arrest him, that seems extreme. How does any of this work? So he claims to do everything he does for the good of them, which is obvious bull. Because he clearly does it for him. He's fascinated by the science behind it, the potential uses and stuff. That made sense back before he... Now they're saying that all the times he wanted to open the rift, because they knew the rift existed all this time, which is still crap, but going with it. They didn't actually know about it in Season 1, but now we're supposed to believe they always knew about it in Season 1. All the time they opened the rift and all that, and all the bad things that happened, it all happened because Brenner was looking for Henry, and Henry was also behind everything, which is super stupid. I don't think they get how they took this ominous, creepy-looking, potentially really hard, like impossible to understand creature like the Mind Flayer, and they made him into this human-created, not even just human-created, kid-created. He was a kid when he designed this weird spider-like thing, which, by the way, it doesn't look like a spider, okay? It doesn't. Loosely, you could argue it does. There's some good stuff in here where she's pointing out, really? So when you took me from my mom, told her I was dead, when you hurt her because she came into the building to try to get me, blah, 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 making the point that you do what you want to do. You're not trying to be for the good of me or anyone else. To an extent, because he has a point here. She starts to talk about Henry like she might agree with him about certain things, which is insane. This guy is an unhinged lunatic from a young age. He thinks people are bad when he's a person himself. No redeemable qualities. And his point is that this is really serious. You need to be stronger to defeat him. He's going about it the wrong way because he tries to drug her. That's never going to go well. And he has Owens and he's like, we're going to hurt him if you don't. I did not see this lab thing ending this way at all. I was really hoping Mike and the others would get there and they could all work together and stuff. But then again, this was back when I was dreaming about being out of Russia with Hopper. So who am I kidding? I'm never going to see the things I want to see with these guys. I can accept that. And then he collars her, which is fantastic now that the military has shown up right then. Looks like both sides are a type of military, maybe? But it's ridiculously one-sided. The lab guys show no strategy whatsoever. The soldiers working for the lab guys, rather. And completely get wiped out. Somebody, some genius in the writing room was like, okay, we're gonna have 11 go get with the lab guys again at some point. Instead of making them actually cooperate, which they could have done, we're gonna have this other antagonist, these military guys. We're gonna get in the way and then she'll be able to get away. So they're attacking now. Well, I knew that those guys would make it here eventually, but I'm a little disappointed. They had to make it in time for everyone to be slaughtered. Your hair's longer than mine now, Mike. Back with the maniacally evil military, they gun down everybody for some reason. Shoot all the defenseless, weaponless scientists. Even Brenner, who is unarmed, tries to carry 11 away to safety, and they gun him down too. Mike and the others do show up, clearly by the helicopter exploding from psychic powers. The collar is not a power dampener at all. As I speculated, it is purely some kind of, I think it just shocks you, like a dog collar maybe? Oh, there was actually no real threat of putting that on. That was really pointless and didn't last at all. Predictably, evil military guy is going to be evil, and when Owens is like, please just don't kill her. You don't need to kill her. I have a way. We can prove it's not her. We know who's doing this. Evil military guy is like, kill her. One-note villains that need to be here to be antagonists because apparently having an evil guy in the Upside Down isn't good enough. There's a moment where it's that thing where someone's dying and they just want to hear you understand them. And it's a really nice moment because he's a very bad person, but you can see the humanity in him yet, and he does on some level care for her. Tried to protect her here, right here. He's dying. I thought at the very least she could acknowledge that much. I was happy she didn't give in and just lie to him, or even be fooled into saying, yeah, I believe some of what you did was for me. No, she had the perfect reaction of just silence. I'm not giving you what you want. You did too many bad things. Here's the thing. As far as I'm concerned, Brenner does not die on screen. He has a possible moment where he could have died on screen. He sort of just exhales and rolls over, and that could very well be that was his final moment. But how many times have we seen it shown and then they just show up later? The episode is titled Papa, so this would be a perfect, well, okay, it's not really a perfect ending for him, but it would be a fine ending and exit of the character. It's one of those things where the show could be very blatantly trying to say, Brenner's dead, see? But at the same time, you know, after the whole off-screen thing with Brenner, I just don't really trust them with this character anymore. He goes on the list of probably dead, but maybe not. So the gang leaves with 11, so we can finally have some forward momentum right at the end of the episode.
Elle, who's gonna die?
Everyone! The episode ends with the setup. This entire episode was just one long hour-and-a-half setup for the final episode. Could have cut this in half. A lot in there. Didn't need to happen at all. I liken it to a lot of times before the end of a show in a 22 episode season, for instance, or a 16 episode season, the penultimate episode will be a type of setup like this. But when it's an hour and a half long, that's way too long to do your setup for your final episode. I don't care if your final episode is long. In fact, the fact that your final episode is long means all that could be in that episode. There's no need for an hour and a half of this. Nothing happens but that military attack. And the military attack is stupid because I don't get it. I guess the military is just bad and evil. The end. There were really funny things in this episode, and there were good character interactions in this episode. They released this originally apart from each other. I can only imagine watching episode 7 and then waiting to watch episode 8, and this is what I get? I'm so annoyed. Kids going in alone is stupid as hell, and that's never gonna make sense for me. These kids get themselves killed. They deserve it, because this is ridiculous. Going alone. There's a lot of confusing stuff with Upside Down now, and the creature who is a human, and how all the retconning stuff becomes really confusing for me, because now things that I thought I knew I was wrong about, apparently, in concerns to everything. Just accepting it. The insane psychopath serial killer, psychic powered human behind it all is BS and also dumb, but I'm dealing with it. Like I said, there's good stuff. I still like all the characters aside from the new guy made up. And the stupid the stupid kids made up too, where they're just one-note bullies. There's no effort put into making them. It's very disappointing. If you're gonna retcon stuff, at least retcon it well. It's just so poorly done. I just don't believe it when they tell me something. The rating is a 6. I have a tendency when I talk about things to bring up the bad stuff in them. And this is why I try to emphasize every now and then there are things I like, even if I'm not always laying out specifics. This entire season, there have been things I like, even in this episode, which was definitely one of the weaker ones. There hasn't been an episode this week since the first 2, which I didn't really like. A lot of the characters don't get a lot to do this season, but it's within reason, and I don't have a problem with it. Will and Mike get moments here and there, although I have no idea what's going on with Will. If anyone has guesses, sound off in the comments. I just don't get. He's a very emotional wreck. I had the thought in the van when he's turned toward the window, hiding from Mike, that he's crying, that maybe he likes Mike? This would be coming out of nowhere because in none of the previous seasons was that even remotely possible as far as I'm concerned. That's how clueless I am. That's probably not it. I'm completely at a loss. Alright, so that was this episode. There are things in it I liked, but overall I was really bored. Hard to hold my attention. Full disclosure, I was watching it with someone. They kept falling asleep. I'm not exaggerating. I must have woken them up 5 or 6 times. Next episode is the last episode. Thank you for watching, and remember to stay entertained.